Welcome to the More Better podcast, where we explore the notion of how doing more of the things that make us happy leads to a better, fuller life. Today, January 6th, 2026, our podcast is titled The Neurobiology of Transition. I am your host, Eleanor Porter. This is the full detail version with a listen time of approximately 10 minutes. For a quick overview, the summary version with a listen time of approximately 3 minutes is also available. Let us begin. Imagine the feeling of waking up on the first day of a long-awaited vacation. There's a specific lightness in the chest, a sense of open possibility. Now, imagine waking up to that same feeling every single day for 6 months. For many of us navigating the transition into retirement or shifting away from a primary career, the endless vacation can eventually morph into something less comfortable. It can feel like floating without a tether. We often ask ourselves, why does Saturday feel different when every day is Saturday? The answer lies not in our attitude, but in our biology. Today, we are exploring the neurobiology of transition. We want to validate that the mental fog or lack of drive you might experience during these major life changes is not a personal failing. It is a physiological response to a change in environment. To understand this, we must look at how the brain processes routine. For decades, your brain has operated on a schedule imposed by external forces like commutes, meetings, and family obligations. This structure acted as an external scaffolding for your neurology. It told your reticular activating system, the part of the brain involved in attention and sleep-wake cycles, when to be alert and when to rest. When we retire, we strip away that external scaffolding. Suddenly, the brain has to generate its own structure. This requires significantly more energy. It is the cognitive equivalent of moving from driving a car on a paved highway to driving off-road. You are still driving, but the terrain requires much more active focus. This brings us to a critical concept in gerontology known as role theory. Sociologists and psychologists have long understood that the roles we inhabit, whether teacher, engineer, parent, or manager, provide us with a script for how to interact with the world. These roles offer us social validation and a sense of competence. When we leave a primary role, we can experience a phenomenon known as role ambiguity. We don't just lose a title, we lose a primary source of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with reward and motivation. When you solved a problem at work, you got a hit of dopamine. When you lose the environment that provided those problems, the dopamine supply drops, which can manifest as lethargy or a flat mood. But here is the good news, and it is backed by robust science. The brain is not static. For a long time, it was believed that the aging brain could only decline. We now know that the brain remains plastic, meaning it can change and adapt well into our 80s and 90s. This leads us to the most encouraging concept for anyone over 60, cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is a theory heavily supported by research from the National Institute on Aging and researchers like Dr. Yakov Stern. The theory helps explain why some people with physical changes in their brains, like the plaques associated with Alzheimer's, never show symptoms of memory loss in their daily lives. Think of your brain like a computer. There is the hardware, the physical neurons and synapses, and there is the software, the processes and strategies you use to think. Cognitive reserve is the sophistication of your software. If you have built up a robust cognitive reserve, your brain becomes flexible. If one road in the brain is blocked, a brain with high reserve simply takes a detour to get to the memory or the word it needs. So how does this relate to retirement and transition? The period of transition is a critical window for building cognitive reserve. When we leave the routine of work, we are often tempted to seek pure comfort, to minimize challenges. We might think, I have worked hard, I deserve to rest. And you do. But total cognitive rest is not what the brain craves. The research indicates that to maintain and build cognitive reserve, we need novelty and complexity. We need to engage in activities that challenge us. This doesn't mean you need to go back to work. It means that the use it or lose it principle we often hear about is actually more nuanced. It is really challenge it or lose it. A study published in the journal Neurology demonstrated that engagement in cognitively stimulating activities is associated with a slower rate of cognitive decline, but the key word is stimulating. Passive activities, like watching television, do not offer the same neuroprotective benefits as active engagement, like learning a new language, mastering a musical instrument, or navigating complex social situations. This is why the permanent Saturday feels strange. Your brain is sensing a lack of complexity. It is hungry for a problem to solve. So, how do we apply this science to our daily lives right now? We can start by reframing the transition. Instead of viewing retirement as a time to wind down, view it as a time to pivot. First, acknowledge the biology. If you feel a dip in mood or energy, recognize that your dopamine pathways are recalibrating. You are not depressed. You are in withdrawal from your old routine. Second, create a new artificial structure. The Blue Zones Project, which studies the world's longest-lived populations, consistently finds that centenarians have a reason to wake up in the morning, termed ikigai in Japan or plan de vida in Costa Rica. This isn't just poetic, it is protective. You can mimic this by establishing set times for waking, physical activity, and social connection. This helps regulate your circadian rhythms and reduces the cognitive load of deciding what to do every day. Third, seek out productive discomfort. If you are naturally good at numbers, try a creative art class. If you have always been solitary, join a walking group. Doing things we are not immediately good at forces the brain to sprout new connections, essentially rewiring your hardware and upgrading your software. We must also touch on the social aspect of neurobiology. Transitioning often means losing the built-in social network of the workplace. Loneliness is not just an emotional state, it is a physiological stressor. The U.S. Surgeon General has highlighted social isolation as a major public health priority. Social interaction is incredibly complex cognitively. You have to read faces, interpret tone, and recall details. Maintaining a social network is one of the best brain exercises available. As we wrap up this first episode, I want to leave you with a thought from the world of structural plasticity. Your brain is ready to adapt to this new phase of life. The discomfort of transition is simply the friction of growth. By understanding that this shift is biological, we can stop judging ourselves for feeling disoriented and start building the new rhythms that will support our health for decades to come. Next week, we will discuss curiosity. We often think of curiosity as a personality trait, something you either have or you don't. But science tells us it is actually a neuroprotectant, a chemical shield for your memory. We will explore how to harness it. Until then, remember that doing more of what challenges and fulfills you is the surest path to feeling better. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you carry these ideas of connection into your week. I am Eleanor Porter. Please join me next week for our next deep dive. Until then, be well.